Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today I have Jace Lopez on, and this is going to be one about muscles, training, results, and getting strong as fuck, getting built as fuck, getting jacked as fuck, whatever it is the process of what happens inside of the gym that allows body transformation to occur. You can't diet your way there. You can't walk your way there. You can't run your way there. It's done in the gym because nothing else builds muscle but what you do in the gym. But something else that we were just touching on before I clicked record was that sometimes the adaptation we're after is a strength one. And this is, I feel, one thing that a lot of women miss because they're chasing the high reps, the burn, the pump, the circuits, the stuff that feels like it's burning the most energy or calories. But when you train to get stronger, that gives you a bigger capacity to then move more weight, to then build more muscle. And something that people don't talk about is, yes, exercise does burn calories. And the more that you're able to lift with that potential, the more calories you're going to burn. But that should not be your focus. Just because it does something doesn't make it your focus. But with that, I'm going to let Jace introduce himself with mistakes that he sees in his gym and touching on that rep one as one of the main ones, because as soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, this is a really important point.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, my name is Jace Lopez. I've been coaching for about 10 years now. I've devoted majority of my life to building muscle. I've been working out since I was about 15 years old. I grew up a little taller, thinner, skinnier guy. So wanted to play college football, went into bodybuild. Ultimately, my main goal was to add more muscle mass. So the past 15 years, if not longer, has been devoted to that craft there, and all the things that I'm going to tell you guys aren't just from the research, aren't just from, people in our industry who are high level and doing the stuff. It's a lot of what I derived over time, my training has led to this over time. So, at this point, in my journey, I'm trying to just cut out all the BS and just state what actually builds muscle optimally, because again, we could build muscle with a booty band, to a point, right? But, over time, it's not going to work anymore. So what can the advanced person, as far as been in the gym for 2, 3, 4 years, do now to maximize muscle gains as quickly as possible? So you mentioned a few myths, Ruby, right?
Yeah, a few myths.
One of those was what you said, high reps, right? And I think people they confuse a pump or soreness with muscle progress, right? Because when you first start training, sensation is going to be your biggest asset of like what works, right? Like, oh my gosh, I did this adduction machine and I was so sore the next day, so it must be working, or I did this bicep curl and I had this huge pump on my biceps, it must be working, I must be getting larger, when we know now that that's not always the case here, so as far as maximal hypertrophy, our goal number one is progressive overload. We want to get in a place where we're building more reps. We're creating a higher stress stimulus or adaptation from doing more weight or even better execution over time here. So again, if we're not progressing a program over time, I say over time, it's like over a year's time. So for example, if I'm doing a pendulum squat, I do it for 6 weeks. And I just say I build some strength there. Those are more neurological adaptations. My body and my muscular system are just getting better at activating, recruit more motor units for their exercise, right? Well, really, the honey is whenever you plateau in a movement because you progress so far, now you're actually building new muscle there. So you want to go ahead, Ruby?
This part, no, sorry. That part that you just said right there is the thing that I've been wrecking my brain on trying to get out there. This is what is important. People feel like it's not working anymore as soon as they stop seeing progress, or because reps start to fall down, or they might have to drop the weight 1 week. But when you're really training for results, you're going to expect reps to fluctuate sometimes, going up and down. Weights will fluctuate up and down. It's not a continual progress upwards. Progressive overload isn't just about a continual progress upwards. There are fluctuations. There's noise in the data. It's like for the people that weigh themselves every day, seeing noise in the data of that going up and down, but eventually dropping if it's in a fat loss phase. That's the same with weights. It's going to do the same thing, but the trend will be up. But sometimes it won't be up because, like you said, There will be neurological adaptations sometimes where we now change to 4 to 6 reps versus doing 12 to 15. You're not going to use a 12 to 15 weight for a 4 to 6 rep thing, or a 4 to 6 rep weight for a 12 to 16 rep thing. Like, if you're able to do 12 to 15 reps with a 4 to 6 rep weight, then we have other things to talk about right now. And there was just one more thing that you touched on before you go on to that part: booty bands. Jace has been at this for 15 years, and this is the reality of change. He saw a lot of change at first. He saw muscles growing. He had that dopamine rush. Now he looks the same every fucking time I see him year after year. It's like, dude, you look the same. Well, duh, I look the same. Like, that's the part of this. Like, change, like, it just plateaus-ish over time, but it doesn't mean nothing's happening. Jay said you have to force progress. Take that away.
Yeah, so I mean, great points there. I won't get too ahead, Ruby. I kind of go back to progressive overload. Is that, we want to see progression over time here. So you really have to stick with the same programming or the same exercise long enough to really plateau and then dig for new PRs there. And then once you plateau over 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and now we're seeing new adaptations, that's when muscle cells are trying to grow here. So the next factors that come with muscle growth are big factors, should I say, is what kind of Ruby said. Train close to failure. Okay. There's something called mechanical tension that we're trying to create here. It's basically the high pulling forces, because muscles pull together to, create a movement that simulates a neurological adaptation to build muscle. So muscle isn't built from tearing the muscle down and building back stronger. I think that's a big misconception with being sore. Like, oh no, it's damaged and now it's gonna come back stronger. Like everything else in life, right? A muscle grows from your brain saying, hey, last time that load, that stressor was a little too much. I'm actually gonna create new muscle cells to new contractile proteins that pull the muscle together. So next time they had that to get to overcome the stressor, should I say, right? So again, basically, your muscle fibers are called myofibrils. It creates new myofibrils over time to grow from, and that's the ones you grow over time. So again, it's totally a brain response. It's not like a physical response where your muscles just tear down and build back stronger here. But again, we have to train close to failure to create that adaptation there and create high amounts of mechanical tension. But there's another factor there called high motor unit recruitment. So you're like, oof, that's a lot of G's. Hold on. So let me stay with me here, okay? So within your muscle, so if you have a bicep, there's sections of your bicep that can activate and work in a curl, and there's sections that can't, or groups, should I say here, And what controls the group is a bunch of nerves, okay? So each group has its own nerve there, okay? Well, there's something called a ladder of motor unit recruitment, meaning when I first start doing curls, I'm doing 20 pounds, right? My body is only gonna give me what it can adapt to and where it's been. So if I'm doing 20 pounds, it's really heavy. I'm like, man, this is really hard, Well, next time I do 25, I'm like, oh, what happened there? My body actually climbed the ladder of motor unit recruitment, is now recruit more motor units as a whole to move this load here, So this only comes with lifting a heavier weight. So, Ruby talks about, doing a 15 rep, rep max load for 5 or 6 reps. You're not going to create this adaptation or something that you're trying to create simply because motor recruitment is lower there. Sure, I could train to failure and create mechanical tension, but I need high motor unit recruitment or high effort within the set to have that synergistic effect of this muscle building response here. Okay, but the last variable is a low fatigue state. So fatigue is pretty vast in its mechanisms. I mean, you have fatigue from your brain, from your nervous system, your spinal cord to peripherally in your limbs. So so our goal is to limit fatigue as much as possible. So when I'm doing the sets, my body has high motor unit recruitment and can get high mechanical tension there. Because if I do a CrossFit workout, and now I'm coming to my workout in a fatigue state, now I won't be able to actually train with high motor unit recruitment combines fatigue. Again, that's what blocks the mechanism there, So again, want to have progressive overload over time. We'll have the synergistic effect of high motor unit recruitment and high mechanical tension, but also want to be in a low fatigue environment there. So I would say that's probably the top 4 things that accumulate to build new muscle cells.
And this is why having some strength work in your training, like 5 to 8 reps, is really important. I'm going to touch on the high threshold recruitment first. If you're training really like proper form, you need to have your technique in check for this. It's not just quarter squatting and adding it on because you want to get 4 to 6 reps. It's doing the same way that you execute those higher rep stuff with good form. The same way with the lower reps, but with slightly heavier weight, which at first, it may only be a little bit above your 12 to 15 rep. And that's okay. Don't just think because it says 4 to 6 reps, you're going to chuck on 20 pounds or 10 pounds. Like, your body has not learnt how to fire that way. And this is exactly what Jace was saying about how the brain adapts first and then the muscles do. So it's going to take time. You might be doing like 60 kilo, let's just say 50 kilos, 100 pounds, 12 to 15 reps. And then add on just a bare 10 pounds, 5 kilos. And that is your max for 4 to 6 reps. But you'll increase that fast over time as your body learns how to recruit things. And then you're finally in this place where you're lifting heavier loads for those shorter reps. But most of those reps are high threshold effective reps because it is in that higher range. And then the second thing you said with the fatigue, this is my favorite part to talk on, because it's like, just because you're training hard doesn't mean it's going to get the results that you're after, because hard feels harder if you did not fuel for your session, if you train fasted, if you're on keto, if your lifestyle is a rock. If you're in a fat loss phase, things feel harder as well. So it's fighting to even maintain progress there and to keep trying to chase progress there. There are so many factors that come into the fatigue, but also the booty bands thing, just because of that, I wanted to go back to that part. That is not going to get the high threshold motor units. Like, you're looking at guys and seeing how are they able to get fast results all the time. Oh, that's so unfair. My husband's able to just do this and he's able to see. Well, guys usually are the ones that are buffoons with eating way too much and training like assholes with heavy weights. Whereas females are usually the ones that are trying to do cable kickbacks and booty band things and air squats and dieting all the time. And as a woman, I'm obviously not shaming women for this, because I fell into the same trap once. But men and women shouldn't really train all that differently. Expand.
Yeah. So going back to the effective reps you mentioned here with high threshold motor units, I don't want to get too crazy on your audience. I'm not sure how advanced they are, but we do want to train in a lower rep range. Essentially, not everybody can train in a lower rep range. If I'm doing a 5 rep squat max, that takes a lot of time, a lot of skill, a lot of toughness and mental acuity to really get to that threshold of actually making it effective and not doing a higher rep max, right? So, but the thing is, according to Chris Beardsley's five effective reps model, your last 4 or 5 reps are the most effective towards muscle growth in your set. So if you're doing 15 reps or 5 reps, I get the same outcome, but if I do 15, those first 10 weren't really going towards hypertrophy that I want here. It was really going more towards fatigue, So us training and learning how to train and eventually training in a lower rep range is how we manage fatigue, create more effectiveness and intention within our sets, but also make more progress over time there. So, but you did mention that men and women should train very similar. So physiologically, there's no like, hey, women got to do this many reps, or they have to do this exercise, right? It's what do you need at this time, right? And from there, you prioritize that movement, or that muscle group, should I say. So men or women, they can all train lower rep range. They can all train heavier and of course, train close to failure and be effective there. There's no, like I said, cable kickbacks or bands that you have to do. It's all what you need to do, of course, what you're intentional about.
Yeah, and I do want to say there's plenty of places for 10 to 15 reps, because it's effective for the fact that it increases time under tension if you use your rep ranges right. It's not just about hitting 15 reps. It's about making those 15 reps effective where you're literally about to fail the 12th rep. If you're about to fail that 12th rep, then you know that your 15 rep set has been effective. And it's not just about, like, we were talking about going from A to B. And it's not just about, okay, let's look from A to B. And it's not just about pumping out the reps. You're allowed, like, resting and pausing if you need to get out all the reps, and then just working on reducing that resting time in between and trying to get more done in that period of time without needing to take a little breather first. Like, that is important as well. Now, talking about effective, because we just said lifting from A to B without actually focusing when it comes to muscle-centric movement, there are no pushing muscles, just like Jace said. Muscles pull. So when you're doing chest presses and shoulder presses, all that kind of stuff, the muscles aren't pushing, they're pulling. If you can imagine what those muscles are doing when you're lifting, it can make it so much more effective to make sure that the tension that you are creating and the weight that you are lifting is going on the target muscles. Expand.
Yeah. So one thing coaches we try to do is we don't think movements. We think of functions. So if I know my pec abducts my humerus towards my sternum, I'm not going to say, okay, well, look, you have to incline press and horizontal press and dip this. That those are movements, right? What's the best muscle function according to what we need to build here? So and we just make it fit that movement for you here. So again, going A to B is so short-sighted because I can do a press, but if my hands are too close, I'm doing more triceps. I'm doing more elbow flexion, right? Well, if I'm too wide, I might put my shoulders in bad position there, So while if I focus on I guess you say moment arm, focus on the longest moment arm from where that joint starts to that muscle and internally, externally, I'm going to get the most tension in that muscle possible, which ultimately is going to grow further than just grabbing the machine and do as many as possible. So again, we don't want to focus on going A to B with movements. We want to focus on the actual function of the muscle and how it relates to this movement and then make it fit that.
Yeah, and this can be related to, I know that you like using the pendulum squat as an example, but I like relating it especially to hip thrust because most people don't hip thrust correctly. They load everything but the glutes, and they don't, like, the hip thrust isn't something to just load the heaviest weight on. It's more one to get higher reps for because it's a shortened range movement, not a longer range movement. Like, yeah, go for 6 to 8 reps on your RDLs. But when it comes to hip thrusts, that should be more of a let's get tension on this muscle. Make sure we're using it for what it's for, which is the shortened range motion, which is getting that full thrust at the top. Expand.
Yeah. So no, she's 100% correct here. And there's a principle called neuromechanical matching that's really going around, and basically it means that that movements are all brain centric, meaning that my brain is going to send activation to the muscle that has the best leverage. So if I'm trying to do a bicep curl, and my elbows are in front of my chest, I'm curling. I'm putting the bicep in a position to actually work here, right? Well, if I put my elbow behind my body, I'm actually putting myself in a weaker position because now there's less leverage to pull from the bicep. So making sure we're putting ourselves in positions to have the most leverage in that targeted muscle is a goal. So what Ruby said, if I'm doing glute thrust, the glutes have the best leverage in hip extension at the very, very top, right? Or hip flexion at the very top. So us focusing on not going too far down, not maybe coming too far up and getting the lower back involved in there, and having good execution ultimately is going to make the stimulus effective for the glutes and not other muscles there.
How can we get women especially who are caught in the rat race of chasing load all the time and progress all the time? Because if it's not on the scale weight, it's in the gym, chasing extra reps, chasing extra volume in some way that isn't actually conducive to results. It's just leading to fatigue or just doing things for the sake of doing things without getting results. And I see this mostly with legs, which is why women complain mostly about the fact that they have spongy backs of the legs, which hamstrings, I swear, are the hardest things for women to tone because no one knows how to hinge properly. So it's really important to get these mechanics in place and not just load things up for the sake of loading things up. Once you learn how to execute, it is so much easier to then load it up. So that's one thing I do want you to talk on, but I really, really feel the most overlooked part of lifting correctly, which comes into the hinging, is learning how to brace your core, learning how to use your core. Because without that, that kind of goes with the neuromechanical matching as well. Your abs and your glutes work together. If you let your abs and core go floppy, have fun recruiting your glutes effectively. Expand.
Yeah, so let's go back to the progressive overload aspect. So I love chasing the logbook. I mean, it's such a great mindset to go to the gym and try to get PRs every single session. You might not get the PR, but at least that's your intention. And but the thing about it is, it's just data. So as coaches, when clients send us their logbook, they send us their biofeedback, they send us their measurements, they send us the pictures, there's just data for us to see how the program's going for you. So, if we see that progressions have went down, maybe they need more food, maybe they need less train volume, maybe they need more rest between sessions, right? And frequency. So again, all this is just logical data. We don't want to get emotional stance like, oh God, I'm not progressing, or my hip thrust stopped last week and I didn't make a progress. So, hey, that's fine. Okay. If you're going in focus and you have high execution, we're doing everything to do here. Okay. Just keep being patient, and those natural adaptations over time are going to come here, So again, all of this is just data for us coaches to help navigate your journey to keep making progress long term here. Okay, but you mentioned about bracing. I think powerlifting is one of the best backgrounds in this whole gym realm, because essentially powerlifting is done with a barbell, which is the most key aspect is bracing. When I say bracing, I mean bracing from your core to screw your feet in the ground, bracing your joints, internal bracing here. So you learning all those methods early is going to help your ceiling of strength skyrocket over time here. Because essentially, building muscle is strength training. People try like, oh no, strength is 1 to 5 reps, and build muscles 10 to 15. No. Again, if the last 4 or 5 of a set are most effective, I could literally train 3 or 4 reps per set and still be effective in muscle growth, right? So, but the only way I'm gonna do it effectively is if within my sets, I'm bracing internally so I don't miss reps. So, if I'm doing a hack squat, I'm braced with my back pad, brace my shoulder pad, brace my feet. There's 3 bracing mechanisms, even my hands, right? But I still have to be intentional about bracing my core and screw my feet in the ground in order to keep that tightness on the way up and down to get more reps over time. Because you see people, they're doing a set, and they're doing a set of high reps. They're doing 10 to 15 reps, and once you get to 12, they're so fatigued they can't even have a good eccentric and get tight to come up for the next rep. So they don't really fail from mechanical tension and that force velocity relationship. They actually fail from fatigue. So again, that's another reason we will actually train at lower rep range and learn best bracing mechanisms for these movements so we can progress more over time.
If you want to keep yourself in the gym long term, learn how to brace, because you will get so many, I will actually make it that blunt out. You will get so many injuries without learning how to brace, because on the leg press, if you're loading it up and you're not bracing, expect your back to blow out. If you're not braced, I put this onto my stories yesterday because I realized it when I shared how huge my belly looked. It was just like this big, giant water balloon pressed up against a rowing machine. If you are, because you're pressing your body against a rowing machine, what do you expect? But if you're in a leg press, or if you're in any position trying to keep your belly looking thin and tight for camera or for other people, you're going to get injured, because that isn't bracing. There is a difference between sucking your belly in and bracing. And so many people, me included once upon a time, popped their backs because they weren't bracing. Except this one time I popped a rib that was sore for literally 2 months because I landed on a hair tie while I went to I had my dumbbells in my hand and they're freaking heavy. I went to lie down on a bench and my rib just whacked on a hair tie and popped a rib. But anyway, back to that. I know, it was so painful. I couldn't do anything. And it's not until you realize, until something happens to you, that you realize how much you can't do. And the goal in training is longevity. And if you haven't got those foundations in place, you can't load things up and chase progressive overload without that functional base, because you will get injured on the way there. The goal is to keep progressing. Otherwise, you're going to keep hitting plateaus and then have to change things around because now you're injured. So bracing is so important for everything, everything. When you're doing arm training, I always say arm training is full body training. Yep. Lower body training is full body training, because you need to brace your thorax, your torso, everything here to squat, to deadlift, to RDL. Everything needs to be braced. Same with when you're doing pullovers, when you're doing bench presses. You need the glutes engaged, the adductors engaged, all of that stuff engaged to have a tighter core, because everything works together. The core, you could say the core is essentially your whole body. I feel like the adductors and the glutes are massively overlooked when it comes to the core, but also breathing. How are you breathing through your lifts?
And I got something else too. So what's good about bracing is you actually learn how to breathe through your diaphragm. So I don't want to breathe through my lungs and expand my rib cage because that bracing mechanism in my midsection is not even active, you know. So it's actually a skill to learn how to actually do that muscle. It's actually a muscle contraction, expand your diaphragm, right? So that takes a while to do as well. But why do we fail exercises? If I'm doing a set and like, oh man, I failed, you know, that the muscle fail, did you know, have like CNS fail? Why did I fail? You fail because of a brain signal that perceives a high level of effort. So your perception of effort can either limit or expand your set here. So again, if I'm doing a 40-yard dash, I'm running as fast as possible. I'm gonna start slowing down at some point. Why is that? Of course, we blame lactate, ATP, things, other things as well. But my body's saying, hey, he's going a little too fast. Then he's going before. Maybe the stress is a little too high. Let me slow him down a little bit to make sure he won't pop a hamstring or hurt himself or slow his heart, right? You know. So same thing in the gym. So if I'm curling, and I'll begin to fail, that high level perceived effort is going to make me fail faster. So if I learn how to breathe through a set, stay calm, because again, my body's breathing and his nervous system are very related. So I could literally breathe really fast with this and create a nervous response and a sympathetic response and drive more cortisol, right? But if I actually breathe and embrace every rep, I create almost like a rhythm or a groove with my reps, even with heavy weight. My body's like, okay, he's under a lot of pain. It's getting really hot in here and hard, but he's staying calm, so he must be okay. Let me send him more energy. Because if not, that high precision level effort will drive down motor unit recruitment to where I literally can't. I'll fail early in the set there. So again, you're not only doing this for safety, longevity, but also you're doing this to keep yourself calm to get more reps over time.
I actually feel this part is massively overlooked because the way that you go into the gym is going to set the tone. If you're going in and you're like, your mindset isn't in it, if you're doubting everything, if you're going to fail something, if you think you're going to fail something, you need to have it in your mind that you can do it. Visualization is such a huge part. And that's where chasing the logbook can actually, that's the most fundamental part that you just said there. It's yes, chase the logbook, but it's data that you can't get emotional about. It's just the aspect of wanting to do your best, knowing that you might get a less rep. You might get 2 less reps. You might need to drop the weight back, but you're still pushing to try to beat last week. And who knows, maybe the following week you might get a whole new PR because fatigue accumulates over time. And most of you doing this don't lift as athletes, as a job. You don't own gyms. You're not PTs. You have other confounding variables that add to fatigue, which now I really want to talk about nutrition for results, because you know the realities of so many women.
Well, we got one more thing to talk about.
Go.
Okay. So doing too many sets in the gym. So you know, based on data, you know, 1 to 2 sets to failure, close to failure, maintains muscle mass. So again, if you know, Ruby's trying to build her glutes, you know, if she does 1 set of glute thrusts and another set of split squats in a week, she's gonna maintain the muscle mass, right? You know, I mean, she might build. I mean, she can progress over time simply, but she's not gonna build a lot more muscle mass simply because, you know, there has to be more of a stimulus over time. Well, anything above that equals growth. So, but at the same time, there's a threshold. So normally they found that over 6 to 8 sets, you're kind of doing more junk volume. That muscle has now exceeded its ability to create muscle protein synthesis to recover, and now is spending more energy recovering the actual damaged ligaments, tissues, spindles, rather than actually going to new muscle growth there. So if I'm a woman, I'm trying to build my legs, I'm doing 3-4 leg days a week, I'm really just spinning my wheels and creating inflammation and high recovery processes, and now we're building new muscles. So I would say that if you're that majority of your muscle groups that you want to grow need to be brought forward to maybe 8 sets per week tops, and don't exceed that there. Because simply what's gonna happen, I mean, we gotta notice through your logbook, right? You're gonna start plateauing, you're gonna start having little tweaks and pains in the joint because you've exceeded your recovery processes.
I do want to quickly just put some caveats to what you just said, in that most people could probably get away with more simply for the fact that they aren't training effectively for effective reps, for effective sets, and doing cable kickbacks aren't included in this stuff. Like, this is effective exercises, effective stuff that is going to get you training in that effective rep range. And over time, you will get better at it. And this is why the more that you advance, the more that you progress, it doesn't mean add more sets, add more reps, add more days. you get more out of less. You get more out of less if you make the less more, because less isn't better if you don't make the less better. So I feel like what you just said there, I'm just like, yes, so many people, like if you see people's gym programs, it's like 4 sets of 8 to 12 of every single adductor, abductor machine, glute kickback machine, hip thrust this, sumo squat, sumo deadlift. We like it's, you know, that it's a typical gym bro program. So I loved that you brought that part up. Thank you.
Well, and way to bow tie that. You said best, but the longer you train for, the more advanced and stronger you get, the less you need to create a stimulus. So, you know, at first, maybe doing 3 to 4 sets per exercise is valuable, right? Again, you're learning the motor complex of you know, the movement, and you're getting a good pattern of how to move the load A to B. But over time, as you get more skilled in the neurological connection of how to push hard, create more motor units, and create more mechanical tension, I don't need 4 sets. I need 1 set or 2 sets, right? So again, it all comes down to kind of your total weekly volume there. But such a great thing there. Again, the longer you train for, the less you need to be effective.
Exactly. That's the most important part. But nutrition, no one, like, we can't overlook this. The carb fear, carb phobia, the chronic dieting, the yo-yo dieting, the being... People pinch penny. What's that thing? Step over pounds to pinch up pennies. I think that's the thing. People try to save food during the day or skimp on breakfast or train fasted so that they can have the whole macro bowl of creamy or whatever it is for dessert. But you're not actually feeding the thing that gets you the results that you want. You're not going to get the results that you want. You're going to fatigue earlier. You're not you're not even going to burn fat effectively because you're walking around like a zombie through the day.
So Ruby had a great point there. You have to eat to grow muscle mass. You know, again, these recovery processes are really driven by calories. Your body's going to only give you what you put in. And you know, if we're eating at a lower maintenance or even at a deficit, I'm not going to be in an optimal environment to even put new muscle mass on. So sure, I might be getting stronger, but I'm not actually creating those muscular adaptations that I want there. So I think nutrition while building is really, really, really simple. Say, hey, how can we feed the body, nourish it with, you know, of course, calories, macros and micros, but be in position to progress your training. Because again, how much more do I have to eat to actually progress training? Not very much more, like maybe 200 or 300 calories above my maintenance, you know, to be in a growth phase. So again, we don't have to bulk. We don't have to add a bunch of crazy food there. Just eat in an upper maintenance. I promise you, you're going to progress over time.
I think this is probably the most important part because so many women, they fall into this bulk cut cycle, and it's what I hate about the bros and the bodybuilding. It's like I'm so against the whole bulking paradigm. It like you can't force feed muscle growth. You can't force train muscle growth. The reason why people end up gaining more fat, or they only get bulky, or they gain too quickly, is because there's no planned strategic way to build muscle. There's no planned strategic way to now not do fat loss. It's either you're in a diet or not in a diet, versus you're in a diet or you're intentionally enhancing your physique, enhancing everything else. It's not just fat loss, maintenance, surplus. I hate that shit. It's either you're in fat loss or you're enhancing your physique, because you can enhance your physique in so many ways outside of fat loss. Fat loss doesn't enhance your physique. It dusts off, like you're doing the enhancing here. I said it like you're kind of doing cavings or whatever they're called, cravings, that thing. And then you dust off everything through fat loss. And then you see what you did. It's engravings. That's the word, engravings. You're doing engravings. And then you dust off the dust to see what happens there. The progress is here. The revealing is here. The more time that you spend here, the less time that you will need here, because now you're maintaining. And people doing like, this is something that I would love to hear more on, because people think that 1 year is enough to build the muscle that you want and then back into a diet. Let's just keep shredding for every summer. That's the reason why you keep having to do weight loss transformations. The longer that you can spend building, the easier it is after that. Like, I have not needed to do a fat loss phase in so freaking long to maintain a leaner than ever look, because I'm carrying with me 5 to 6 kilos more muscle mass over the period of 3 years of building. I probably built most of that within the first 1 to 2 years. The third year, it was just fighting for progress and maintaining that and keeping that status quo, back to be okay with nothing changing, because nothing changed to me in that period of time. I looked the same. And now it's just easier to live leaner because I did it once and I did it right.
The dichotomy of women is that they want to be smaller. Society teaches be smaller, be thinner, be skinnier, be leaner. And unfortunately, they spend about 80% of their time cutting and about 20% actually nourishing their body, which ultimately leads to, faster aging, poor hormonal health, poor mental health, and poor self-image as well. But really, we want to flip that. It should be about 80% feeding up, building muscle, nourishing your body, and 20% dieting, like Ruby said, to uncover the engravings there, so actually see what you built in that time. So us coaches, rewiring the mindset of like, hey, like instead of smaller, think stronger, and instead of leaner, think healthier, right? And what's funny is look at a woman chasing strength. She's gonna look, feel, and mentally be in a great spot. Look at a woman always chasing fat loss. She's never happy. She never really makes progress. But over time, within 3 to 5 years, she's going to put weight on. Now she's on the other way now. So it's like, oh, shoot, I want to lose 10 pounds. And I actually gained 5 pounds over 3 years. And I look worse. I lost muscle mass that time as well. So again, our goal as coaches and leaders in this industry is to rewire the mindset of leaner, skinnier, smaller, and to more, healthier nourishment and stronger.
You can take a lot from bodybuilding comps in a sense as lessons, because after doing 8 shows in a row, I realized that in the period of time that I was prepping for comp, I was slowly looking worse comp by comp. Like I looked amazing for my first 4, but after that, I looked gradually worse because over that period of time, I wasn't able to build as much muscle. My body wasn't able to use the glycogen store because your body adapts to what you give it. I wasn't even able to adequately use carbs the way that I should be using them because my body was in such a hormonal low
storm.
And yeah, it was a hole. And that's where you don't have to compete in bodybuilding to get to that position of time. The chronic dieting does it. And every single time you need to do it again, you're going to end up with more fat, less muscle. Because if you're in a fat loss phase, most people listening to this are not going to be building muscle. It takes, you need to be at least eating at maintenance. You don't need a huge surplus to add on to that. But sometimes you need to come to reality. There are people that think that after 2 years of building, if they've never went into a surplus, that if they then just go into a deficit again, although they're already pretty moderate and they've just sat at maintenance, just going to a deficit again is going to reveal this whole new thing. But you never actually gave yourself enough time to fuel up and build the tissue that you're hoping to see.
Yeah, I mean, women grow muscle at a tremendously slower rate than men. So, if you're spending majority of that time in a lower maintenance, you're putting on a fingernail muscle per year, right? So again, our goal as coach, what we're telling you guys is to maximize muscle mass. How do we maximize this growth here? But I would say the ultimate goal over time is to be in a place where, in 12 weeks, if you want to do a bodybuilding show, you want to do a powerlifting competition, you want to do a marathon like Ruby, you're able to, because you're such a good spot metabolically. You have enough money in the bank hormonally, and of course, through the calories you eat over the past few years, that you have the option. Say, hey, if I want to cut, I can. If I want to, go vacation, I can. If I want to, do a strength competition, I can there. So you're not choosing one based on what you're focused on that entire year, because you're in such a good spot hormonally and metabolically.
I actually think this is probably going to be the best way to spend the next however long summing this up, because there's so much I want to dig on just in what you just said. You sparked so many thoughts. You want to be in this place where, yes, you can just do these things, and that's where I am now. But yeah. I've been doing this I've been telling people 7 years, but I've been lying. I'm sorry. It's almost 9 years now. The lockdowns completely made me forget what age I am and what year I'm in. And it continues to do that to me. No matter where I am, I just keep forgetting. But I've been doing this for 9 years. And after 3 years of building, and I did not do a fat loss phase until after that 4th year. But after 3 years of building, +1, I've got to this place where I can do this stuff. And it's funny because the last time that I was doing running because I wanted to do a triathlon before they put us into a friggin' lockdown again. But I had people asking me, oh my God, your legs are so amazing. What are you doing? Everywhere people were asking me, because I never got asked that while I was quote unquote bulking or quote unquote building. People just said your legs are amazing. they're nice. I want your quads. But people were actually now asking me because they started to lean out as I started to lean out, because this was when I did my fat loss phase. Again, that highlights what you do in a fat loss phase is the result of everything you did outside of a fat loss phase. Now, that point aside, then when I was running, people were asking me about my lean legs. What do I do for legs? And I used to laugh my head off because I hardly trained them. Hardly. I did not do very much. And if I told people what I did, they're like, no way. How did that give you legs like that? I'm doing so much more. I'm like, because what I'm doing now isn't what gave me my legs. It's what I've done the last freaking 4 years. Back then, it was what I've done the last 4 years is what got me my legs right now. And people think that running keeps them lean. Running makes you lean. And now there's this hybrid era where people are running more because the people that they see doing hybrid, like me, they look good. They have muscle. But it's not running that gave me this. Oh, but running sprints gave me muscle, gave me leaner legs. Well, that's because it helped put you into a deficit. It did not build the muscle there. Expand.
Yeah. So, oh man, that's tough.
I love this topic.
I think one thing she said was that, she put the work in up front. Now, whatever she does, she's gonna look awesome doing it. I mean, she could start some jujitsu and MMA. Like, oh my gosh, was that what got you these legs? She's like, no, the squats for past 10 years of progression got me here. So I would say that if you really want a muscular physique and somewhere to be confident and proud of for the rest of your life, spend 3 to 5 years in a season really chasing hypertrophy. Just really chase it. And that's going to set you up for life. For whatever you want to do after that, you're going to maintain majority of that muscle mass and carry that strength, joint health, mobility with you for the rest of your life. So it's really cool that Ruby's saying this because it's a great example of the goal. Like, hey, dude, like she put the work up front. Like if she want to grow her legs more, she has the option. But guess what? She put that season. She said, hey, in this season of my life, I'm gonna teach hypertrophy. Whether it lasts 7 years or 1 year, she got put enough muscle mass on to keep with her going forward there. As long as she maintains it. Like she probably still trains like a savage the day she does train, right? To help maintain the muscle mass. But again, you need to put the work up front to have options later.
And this is the thing, like you see me lifting my weights to failure. You see me chasing these things. And I said to Jace before this, I have a squat goal. And that is my only strength goal. I can't chase strength in everything if hypertrophy is my goal. And like he also said, you can only really focus on one main thing to be really good at that one main thing. So the fact that I'm trying to do all of this running now and this extra cardio isn't adding to my lean physique. It's making it harder for me to build a leaner physique. Because building a leaner physique isn't about the fat loss. It's not about the cardio. It's not about the running. It's about the building of the muscle tissue. The more muscle that you build, the leaner you look. Because muscle is lean. Lean is muscle. Muscle is strong. Strong is muscle. Strong is lean. Like it's that stuff. I am trying so hard to grow my glutes. And I know that it is getting slightly sacrificed by the fact that I have these other competing goals, these other interests. But at the same time, I'm feeding it. I'm eating almost 3,000 calories a day. If I wasn't eating I'm 5'1" and a bit, 5'1" and a bit. I'm tiny. I'm eating a lot of food for me. And that is because I'm trying to stay at least at maintenance into a slight surplus. And I only by the time you guys are listening to this podcast, it would be quite a few weeks, but I only just established this goal yesterday that I want to take the running to a next level again. And I'm like doubting it, but I'm like, no, I want to do something challenging because it's been a while since I put myself into something challenging. And that's the thing with anything that you do. What are the trade-offs? But you need to come to reality about what actually gets the results that you want. Adding in running isn't going to get you leaner. I like this part. I want you to go on about this feeding and calories thing to really drive it home because what you said before is so important.
Yeah, I mean, you put a bow tie on that, Ruby. Choose one thing and really chase it. And that when I say chase it, nutrition, mindset, training, and lifestyle factors. It all has to culminate into that one goal. Because again, I can't say my goal is hypertrophy. I'm getting 20,000 steps a day and eating like a bird. So I have to, like I said, eat in an upper maintenance. I have to, control my activity, so not too much energy expended outside the gym, and I have to recover outside the gym when I do train for progression. So if you just keep it as simple as possible and focus on keeping the main thing, you're going to be in a great spot to progress over time.
I love that. So I think a great way to tie a bow on everything that we said to make the official handshake of nutrition and training is, okay, let's marry this together for the greatest mistakes we see in the social media industry, especially, but in Facebook groups, in Instagram chats, in just people talking to each other with like dieting. Dieting is the default these days. It's all people know, yet people want a leaner physique. Dieting isn't like the body you want isn't on the other side of dieting. Dieting might be a part of it. Most likely is a part of it for so many of you, but that's the thing. It's a part of it. Sum that up and sum this podcast up with your little.
And Ruby had a great point there. Dieting is such the go-to for most people for progress because it's about less. Right. It's like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know if I eat less, I'm gonna see results, and the answer isn't less, it's not more, it's more precise. Like let's get more granular, more accurate on what's put in your body, the timing, the sources, how you're training, what movements you're doing, the volume, how you're recovering, and how also you're adapting over time and checking in with yourself or the data we mentioned earlier. So again, it's not more intensity or less this, it's more accuracy. So again, when you hire a coach, we take care of all that for you. Like, hey, all you gotta do is follow the program I wrote for you. You update me. I'm gonna read your data. I'm gonna have it all in front of me. I'm gonna critically think what's the best move for this and possibly adjustment for this physique going forward to perform better, to look better, and have better feedback. And we make that adjustment and keep going there. So it takes the guesswork out of it and makes this process a lot smoother, a lot more enjoyable, but a lot faster as well.
Freaking love this. I love this conversation. I love when we can nerd out a little bit and geek out a bit because I don't get to unleash that part of me that often. So when I get the opportunity, freaking love I really hope you guys took a lot from this podcast. There is so much to glean from this, so much that you can apply and check in of yourself. Maybe pull out your program and check that out as well, but also check it out from where you are now in your journey, because sometimes it does take time with building your way up from your usual 15 to 20 rep circuits to, okay, now 12 to 15, 10 to 12, 8 to 12, being able to just learn what it feels like to fail, to use the 15 reps as a true 15 rep max, not a 20 rep max. Give it a go. And with that, Jace, what do you want to leave the ladies listening to this with? What do you want to share with them? I'm going to put whatever you mentioned down below as well as your Instagram, but what else do you want them to know? Where can they find you?
So if you guys took, the way to optimize muscle growth, the nutrition facts we said here today, know that none of that matters if you're not consistent. You have to follow something long enough to see results and then build on top of those results and then build an opinion if it works for your body or not. So again, I think too many people are just program hopping. They're just, they're doing this from Monday, Friday, but on the weekend they're blowing it all, So again, if you're just consistent, and again, I think committing to something scary, right? It's scary being new with something, scary sucking something. It's scary, to do something like, oh, this is forever. Just tell yourself, hey, in this season of my life, I'm gonna chase this. I'm gonna be an amateur. I'm gonna go through hard work, all the pain, all the learning curves, but I'm gonna chase this here. You're gonna be a lot more successful long term from just being consistent.
Honestly, it doesn't matter what the hell you do with anything we said if you're not consistent with it. So I love what you said, consistency with intensity. So Jace_Lopez_ is where you'll find him on Instagram, and I'm sure everything else you'll find through there as well. But thank you so much for coming on. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Reach out to Jace, check out his training footage that he shares on his stories as well, because he shares what training hard looks like as well. And when you actually watch people like me, like Jace, in the gym, not training tutorials. Training tutorials are bullshit. They're showing you proper form. They're not showing you the last few reps. They're not showing you in the moment data. Watch people training hard. Watch what the people do that have the physiques that you have. What do they do? But you don't see what's behind the scenes either, but at least you can see how they train. Do that. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Ruby.
Bye, guys. And please give this a 5-star rating. It will mean the world to me.